It wasn't a place for poor subcontractors to be, and that guy was incredibly cocky. The company dinner party was ruined by a high-pitched yell. She was the daughter of the CEO of a former contract manufacturer, doing whatever she pleased to the company and the people around her. When I tried to quiet her down, she snapped at me. She grabbed a glass of wine from the table and splashed it in my face. The red wine soaked into my face and down my shirt. "Get the hell out of here. You're going to get a stain," she screamed. "Oh my God, what have you done? Do you think you'll be forgiven for this?" "Of course I will. My father is the CEO of a company that uses you subcontractors. As his daughter, I can do whatever I want," she replied smugly. She and her father thought they were untouchable. I knew I had to stand up to her someday, and it seemed like today was that day. "If that's the case, tell your father he's relieved of his duties as of right now," I said, raising my voice to confront her with a truth she would never have expected. "My name is Bob Parker. I'm the 53-year-old CEO of a factory that manufactures parts for industrial precision instruments. Although my factory and company are newcomers, having only been in business for about 7 years, we are highly regarded in the industry for our manufacturing capacity and technical capabilities. We're known as a town factory, but we've established ourselves as a subcontractor for a major precision equipment manufacturer. Our relationship with the main contractor has been good, built on open and frank exchanges of opinions. While it's an exaggeration to say we're equal, we've maintained a respectful relationship." Just then, someone approached me. "Oh, hi, how may I help you?" "Yeah, I'm here to discuss delivery and future production plans," I said. "Plans? I haven't heard anything about that," they replied, surprised. "What? That can't be. Last week I arranged the date and time with the person in charge. One day, I was on my way to deliver a product to the manufacturer, our main contractor, as usual. The person in charge on our side and I went out together, planning to go directly to the manufacturer to confirm the schedule and work out the details of the plan for the rest of the day. I assumed I would meet with the manufacturer's representative and discuss the details. However, the manufacturer's representative did not show up. Instead, a woman named Maria Geller appeared in front of us. I knew Miss Maria Geller well. She was the daughter of the CEO of the manufacturer's main contractor and was rumored to be a powerful person in the industry. "If you don't mind, I'd like to have a moment of your time," Maria said, looking at us suspiciously. She had no way of knowing what I had planned for the day and assured me there was no internal schedule she wasn't aware of. She dismissed my request for a meeting with the person in charge. How could I accept such a one-sided offer? Maria's brow wrinkled as she glared sideways at me and the person in charge on our side. She wouldn't let a subcontractor or anyone else through to the company. Maria stood at the company's main entrance with such vigor that neither of us could say anything. After a tense moment, Maria smiled and asked me to come to the front door. "How dare a subcontractor like you come in with such an attitude?" "Wait, what? If we let you up, you'll contaminate the company. I don't want the company to get dirty, so please leave." "What? Well, then." Maria dismissed us with a sneer. Both I and the employee in charge were too surprised to react. Without even looking at us, Maria disappeared into the back of the office. "Let's go home," I said to the employee in charge as we got into my car. I still couldn't sort out what had happened. On the way back to the office, I kept silent for a while until the staff accompanying me started talking. "So the rumors are true." "What rumors?" I asked. The employee, gripping the steering wheel and facing forward, sighed. "I've heard from people at other companies that Maria is two-faced. Mr. Geller is very busy these days, so Maria acts in the CEO's place, going to subcontractors and acting like she's the CEO's representative. Another rumor is that she's a successful career woman, but she also has a reputation for being stuck up and borrowing her father's name. She says whatever she wants, like 'I'll review the contract amount,' or 'you'll have to adjust your schedule to ours.' When they don't listen, she gets very angry." "Is that so?" "Well, they say it's just a rumor, but she actually did a number on Johnson Chemical." "Johnson Chemical? That's one of the most well-established companies in the world." "That's not a concern for Maria these days. Maria is taking over for her father, Mr. Geller, the CEO of the company. Her father, Mr. Joey Geller, is a little older than me and a senior figure in the industry. They say he's very busy these days. Mr. Geller has been a workaholic since he was young and enjoys being busy while energetically working as a CEO. I had also heard that he was an advisor to other companies in the same industry." Now, in place of this busy man, his daughter Maria is the face of the company. I didn't know that was happening at Mr. Geller's place. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm just wondering, I guess, I said. While the staff talked about Maria, I glanced at his face. Although he wore a bitter smile, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. The damage caused by Maria's actions was real. I'd heard that she had picked a fight with a well-established company in the industry. I had only encountered Maria's arrogance once, but as I began to hear more and more bad reports about her, I started to believe the rumors spreading around. After Maria's outbursts against me and my staff, she continued to be disrespectful to our longtime business partners. There were signs of a shift in our relationship with our prime contractor. I began to carefully consider my next steps. Since then, I had received plenty of information about Maria's movements. It was true that she was still clashing with business partners, making unreasonable demands on new partners, and getting turned down. Maria's bad reputation spread throughout the industry. Occasionally, she showed her capable side, and there were rumors that she tried to help small businesses in financial trouble. While doing my job, I paid close attention to how I interacted with her company. I didn't want to be rude or unnecessarily irritate Maria. I remained mindful that it was, after all, a business relationship. In the midst of these events, I was about to host our annual company dinner party. It's been a tradition since the company's inception to have a dinner party with everyone. I looked forward to the event at my favorite restaurant, which I had enjoyed for many years. I think we should seriously consider establishing a distribution center next fiscal year. Will we do it in-house or outsource? We prefer in-house if possible, but securing the site is the first hurdle, I said. Talking about work and personal life, there was never a shortage of topics at the dinner table. Although I felt a bit tired discussing work at a pleasant gathering, it also made me feel that my work was fulfilling. The regular dinner party was a valuable opportunity for me to stay motivated. Wait a minute, why are you here? Are these people from your company with you? Maria suddenly rushed over to our table. The restaurant was small, and I could easily recognize anyone who entered. However, I was so engrossed in our conversation that I hadn't noticed Maria had come in. Gosh, I don't want to eat while looking at you guys. Maria glared at us with disdain. Her hatred was palpable and she made no effort to hide it. Other customers in the restaurant stopped eating and looked at her. I apologize for the other day, I stammered, taken aback by Maria's attitude. I tried not to show my discomfort and greeted her, apologizing for the incident. I thought I hadn't communicated with you well enough. Yes, it was a cocky thing to say, Maria sneered. She didn't like my greeting, and her mood was worse than I had anticipated. Do you know what kind of restaurant this is? Maria asked. Yes, I do. It's a great place with a prestigious atmosphere, but it also has a homey feel, I replied. Yes, I know that, but the important thing is that it's also a high-end place, she emphasized. Maria asked about the price of the restaurant, a small but upscale place where the chef was a top culinary expert from a prestigious French restaurant. She questioned whether I understood the value of such a place, letting out a loud sigh and becoming agitated. This is not a restaurant for a poor subcontractor. So ridiculous. I think that kind of behavior might cause trouble, I cautioned. Maria ignored the stares of those around us and lashed out at me again, calling me poor and threatening me to leave. I was too stunned to respond but managed to warn her firmly. Shut up. However, her anger only intensified. Shut up, Maria repeated, shaking her head violently. I tried to calm her down, but she snapped. I told you to shut up. She grabbed a wine glass from my table and splashed the wine in my face. What are you doing? I exclaimed as the red wine soaked from my face to the chest of my shirt. An employee at the table with me shouted, but I stopped him. I was the one who had to handle this mess, not wanting to inconvenience the restaurant or anyone around me. I took out my handkerchief and wiped the wine off my face. You should have just stayed quiet, Maria continued, still unsatisfied. Don't be a snob, just go home. You're going to get a stain. She let out a loud, satisfied laugh and called me miserable. I knew exactly what Maria wanted, to wield her father's prestige as her own power. Maria, what are you doing? Do you know what you've done? I decided to confront her, raising my voice for the first time. Oh my God, do you think you'll be forgiven for doing this? Of course I will, Maria replied confidently. My father is the CEO of a company that uses you subcontractors. As his daughter, I can do whatever I want. I didn't know Maria's exact age, but she must have been over 30. Her father, Mr. Geller, whom I was acquainted with, was older than me. I remember hearing from him once that his daughter had entered the workforce. After that, I also began to hear that she was a good and dedicated worker just like her father. But as the years passed, she had turned into a monster. She thought her father and she were so great. I understood. If that's the case, tell your father he's dismissed as of today, right now, I told Maria with a straight face. If I wanted to do what was best for my company and the prime contractor, I had to remove Maria's father from his position as CEO. Now, tell him now, I urged her to call her father. She stared at me and sniffed. What? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? What are you saying as a subcontractor? Just make the call anyway. Maria scoffed at me, but when I insisted, she responded with a click of her tongue. Okay, fine. I'll report you and your company while I'm at it. You'll be the one crying. She pulled her cell phone out of her bag and made the call in a tedious manner, explaining the situation to her father, Mr. Geller. Eventually, she connected with him. Yes, the CEO of that company misunderstood me. He scolded me and said he was going to fire you, Daddy. Hey, I'm in trouble. Won't you help me out? Maria stared at me and my coworkers as she spoke. She told her father in detail about her dissatisfaction and asked him to punish us. Gradually, however, Maria's face grew tense. It all started with Mr. Geller's yell, which I could clearly hear. How dare you? He shouted on the other end of the phone. No, that can't be true. I didn't know that, Maria said, silent for a while. But then something snapped and she yelled, No, I didn't know that. She looked at me with teary eyes. No way. There's no way that dirty little subcontractor guy is a major shareholder. Maria's eyes widened, her breath hitched, and she continued to scream into the phone. Then she hung up and looked at me, shaking slightly. Did you understand? Ha! I replied. That's why I told you I was dismissing Mr. Geller. I'm asking you if you understood that. I heard you ask, she muttered sulkily, but I didn't ask her what her father had told her. I knew better than anyone. I used to be a board member of a former contract manufacturer of which Mr. Geller was the CEO. I was also one of the members who started the company in the first place. Mr. Geller's former CEO was a friend of mine from school. I had created the company with him and used to support him as a co-owner. I left my friend and the company because I wanted to test myself. I wanted to use my personality and knowledge in the same field as the company I had started with my friends, but in a slightly different way. I explained the situation to my friend, recruited a few employees, and started my own company. I remember my whole body trembling with nervousness when I got my own company, my own factory. When I became independent, my friend, who was the CEO of the company, also left. He decided to retire early and now enjoys fishing and reading in his birthplace. If you trace the connection between the former contractor and me back to the starting point, it began there. I also owned stock in the company where I used to work, and I still do now, even after I left the company. In addition, I have bought more shares and am now the largest shareholder of the prime contractor. I don't usually talk about it. I never intended to, hoped it would never come to that, but Maria crossed the line she shouldn't have crossed. It's unfortunate for you that you didn't know anything about it, but as for you, I guess I can only say you got what you deserved. You've got to be kidding me. Except that I'm not. You must be lying. Joke or not, I'm dismissing Mr. Geller. Maria seemed to understand the whole situation, even though she didn't like it. She was sulky, looking away from me and mumbling bitterly. I told her that I had decided to dismiss Mr. Geller as CEO. You jerk. You subcontractor idiot. Maria lay on the ground, looking up and lashing out at me, trying to grab me. Stop it. My colleagues put their hands on Maria's shoulders and held her back. I told her to be quiet, that I had enough, and tried to get her to sit down on a chair. You've got to be kidding me. My coworkers urged Maria to apologize to me, to the restaurant, and to the people who happened to be there. They tried to persuade her, but she wouldn't listen and finally kicked a nearby chair. Shut up. I apologized to no one. I glared at my coworkers, and Maria left the restaurant with a few words of apology. My colleagues and I apologized to the restaurant staff and the people who were there and ended the dinner party. The next day, I requested that the prime contractor hold a special meeting of the board of directors. I showed up at the board meeting as the one who called for the meeting and as one of the major shareholders of the company. Surrounded by a group of board members whose faces were pale after learning of the previous day's commotion, I proposed that Mr. Geller be removed as CEO and asked for his approval. Yes, sooner or later this would happen. I am truly sorry that we could not make the decision ourselves. one of the board members revealed the deeds of Mr. Geller and Maria. Mr. Geller has been gradually changing people since he became CEO. Maria was already a problematic child. When her father asked Maria to join the company, the board felt powerless to oppose them. They feared both Maria and Mr. Geller, but now it was time to ask them to leave. The meeting was about to conclude with everyone's agreement when Maria suddenly interrupted. "Excuse me, please allow me to apologize," a tearful Maria said as she entered the room. "I am truly sorry. Please, it's all because of me. Please don't take it out on my father." She begged me to spare her father, no matter what happened to her. "Maria, I can never do that," I replied. "Why?" "My father didn't do anything wrong," she insisted. "Do you really think so?" I asked. I had looked into the situation and found that Maria had been using her father's name to put pressure on the company and its business partners. Mr. Geller, as CEO, and her father should have supervised her better and stopped her. But he was not innocent either. He was suspected of embezzling money and filing fake business trips. Then again, I can't say that Mr. Geller was completely innocent, I continued. In light of all this, I believe that you and Mr. Geller are no longer suited to this company. What do you think about that?" Maria fell silent, then nodded tearfully. Mr. Geller appeared behind her, looking stunned. "As for the future, let us decide. Your voices will now be heard in the proper forum," I told them, giving them an ultimatum. Maria collapsed, and Mr. Geller quietly apologized and led her away. Within a week, the issue with the Gellers was resolved. Mr. Geller was dismissed as CEO, and Maria was given a disciplinary dismissal. The Gellers left without opposition and are now relying on relatives for support. They have not been able to return to society or find new jobs, a situation that many say they deserve. A new CEO was appointed in a hurry. He was a mid-level employee well liked by the subcontractors and the old management of the main contractor. Serious and with a strong work ethic, he knew the subcontractors well. With the turmoil at the prime contractor over, I regained my composure. As I focused on future growth for my company, I knew I had to stay grounded and keep moving forward.